And here's the thing about the Paul Hellyer stuff too. To your point, I don't doubt it. It's like I know that when I talk to people who are not inherently interested in this subject, which to me I'm like, how can you not be?
Yeah.
Because there's like my girlfriend who, I talk to her about a lot of this stuff, and a lot of what I talk to her about, because again, it's a topic I am so interested in, specifically about aliens, and I'm so well versed in, I could talk hours about it and about credible stuff, I'm just like I've done already today. I'm good at being able to say this is interesting, but all speculation, and over here this is like concrete evidence.
Right.
But to me, what I tell people who are not interested in the subject is it's easily a sliding scale where it becomes more interesting. Like you have like Ancient Aliens on the History Channel. I don't even find that interesting because it's all so heavily speculated that I'm like, there's not even anything legitimate. Whereas Paul Hellyer, like we just talked about, he's interesting because even though it's all speculation, he can't offer any evidence or even corroborated testimonial to back him up. He's corroborated enough just in his position. He was Canada's defense minister. He's not just some schmuck.
Right.
So that in and of itself is very interesting. But anyway, what I tell people is it's easily a sliding scale, because on the one hand you could talk about Commander David Fravor off the coast of San Diego in 2004 on the USS Nimitz in the Tic Tac case, and that's concrete 100% black and white.
Right.
And then you can have all of there's so many, and I'm not going to list them all, but I can name a dozen different incidents or events that are 100% black and white real. And if we just acknowledge, which it's not a leap of the imagination to do whatsoever, that these are all real, which they are, well then, okay, then that basically means that for sure there's aliens doing something. We don't, that doesn't mean we know any, with the evidence that we've been given, it doesn't mean we know who they are, what they look like, where they come from, what they want, but we know that they're here displaying these capabilities. Well then, that's level one. That's like black and white evidence, heavily corroborated between multiple credible witnesses and radar and video confirmation. And then from there, you step towards credible witness testimony only. Like there's no radar or video footage, but there's multiple credible witnesses that all report the same thing. Mm-hmm. Then from there, you move to a singular credible witness. That's Paul Hellyer. And then from there, you move to the realm of complete speculation. But within that, it's like if you know that step one stuff that we talked about is undeniable black and white, then it's an easy stair-step progression to be like, look, I don't have enough evidence to say Paul Hellyer is for sure correct about aliens working in tandem with the government having some kind of deal, but I have to concede the possibility that it is a very real probability.
Yeah. And, see, for me, thank God, now, have you had a personal experience with a UFO?
I have not. I've come very close to. Did I tell you about Scout's story, or did Scout tell you about the story? Here? At this house?
Yeah. All right, God, please let him have a personal experience with alien craft, and alien in a good way interaction.
No abductions, please, Lord. I would just love to see a craft in the distance.
I don't know. You might like probing. You never know. No. But God, please let him have his own. Because, see, this is where, because I have had many interactions with craft, there is no doubt. Kind of like the Tic Tac 2004. That's credible evidence, rock solid evidence to that pilot and everybody who has seen that film. They don't need any other evidence presented to them that this stuff is real.
Right.
Well, I haven't been that pilot, but I have been that pilot. I have had those interactions. Yeah. I know they're real. It really doesn't matter what anybody else thinks.
I agree.
And I've had those interactions with other people around me having the same interaction. And, so, It's
I wonder if to me, and I will say, and I appreciate you asking God for me to have a UFO sighting, a craft sighting, because I would love to have one. But for me, I actually don't need one. Like, I'd be happy to have one. But what I mean by that is,
I know what you mean.
what I mean is
I
I
anticipated you saying that,
like
but I still
I fully believe, I know for a fact, because of all of this very credible evidence in these events that I told you about. I can pretty much say with certainty, and I'd bet any amount of money that I had, that the craft are real, that the aliens that are piloting them are real, and that it's been happening for a very long time, that aliens have been coming here a very, very long time. And I even believe the historical accounts of the Sumerians, the Anunnaki, and all that. I believe all of that stuff. So, like, I fully believe it. But I guess, when I talk about convincing others, or accumulating a large body of very credible, undeniable evidence, it's not just something that I require to believe, because I already believe, but I almost feel like, again, I was when I mentioned my girlfriend earlier, it's like, my girlfriend's one of these people that when I talk to her about all this stuff, she doesn't think it's all nonsense, or she doesn't not believe. Like, I tell her all the things, I let her listen to the same podcasts or interviews or testimonials that account all of the pieces of evidence and how they all corroborate each other and they form an airtight case. And when she listens to those things, and I know of quite a few people like this, she says to me, I believe it. She says, I do believe it, and I do believe they're here, but I don't care. Like, this is a subject that doesn't interest me. How does this affect my day-to-day life? I have no interest in delving further into this topic, because while I do actually believe that they're here and this is happening, I don't see an impact on my life in any way. So I view it essentially as a waste of time. I don't really care about this subject. And to me, this goes back to our topic earlier about how a lot of these aliens are here to help us evolve religiously or spiritually, like you said.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe because I do recognize the divinity of us as humans, and the divine in all of us, and the divinity of the universe, and the divinity of these aliens, maybe that is why I am so obsessed with the phenomenon and the topic, because even though I already believe, and I don't need one single additional shred of evidence to believe, maybe it's just so important to me to continue to collect all this credible evidence, because for some reason I feel in my heart that it's important that everyone believes, because it's important for our evolution as a species.
Bingo. Yeah, I think you hit it right on the head.
Yeah.
And you could have been quoting my wife. That Jean is in total alignment with your girlfriend.
Yeah.
And she certainly believes, no problem. But how does that affect my life today? Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I got to go to work. Thank you. Well, so do I. But I feel just like our topic earlier about Sitchin and the Anunnaki and the Anunnaki's spiritual beliefs. I think stuff like that needs to be out there in the mass consciousness, and stop drawing the wrong conclusions about the Anunnaki.
To me, yeah, and my answer back, like, what does this matter? It's like, to me, it's everything. And maybe that's because you and I mean, I don't mean to sound egoic at this, but maybe it's like people like you and I get it, because it's like, yeah, we both have to go to work too. We all have to go to work and chop wood and carry water and do our daily human routine. But you ask, what does this matter to me in my life? I mean, I think to us as a species, it matters. It's everything. It's everything, because it's a concept of technology. Well, if you want to just talk about the technology, well, these craft are displaying capabilities that are completely in the face of what we understand the reality, the nature of physics to be. So first of all, we could just completely evolve our understanding of science, math, technology, and the universe just to be able to master the technology that they seem to be displaying. But then beyond that, like, acknowledging that there is other intelligent life in the universe, and the universe is probably teeming with intelligent life, and what that means. And then to go further and to ask yourself the question that we've been probing this morning, what is the spiritual or religious beliefs of those entities, and what spiritual experiences of these entities that maybe are far older and wiser than us, what have they experienced, and how does that knowledge and understanding impact the human condition? Those are, what could be more important?
Wouldn't you want to, you came across a race of people that were much more scientifically, technologically developed than you were. Wouldn't you eventually ask the question, not just show me this stuff, but how'd you come up with this?
Yeah.
How'd you develop to this point? What were your guiding beliefs that caused you to evolve to develop this technology in these ways? What's behind you, in your thinking that you would come up with this? I would want to know your spiritual beliefs, because again, this is a interpretation. I think many folks that look at those of us who are investigating aliens, Anunnaki, Sitchin, blah, 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 as wanting to or say that there is no God, there's no religion or anything like that, and that's farthest from the truth, because I believe that just like the Anunnaki, coming to understanding that creating man, doing the DNA engineering on the sapiens that were there, hominids that were there, was part of the divine plan. It's not getting farther away. Science is not getting farther away from religion or spiritual beliefs. It's
unifying. It's getting closer to it.
Very much so.
Exactly. And I was going to say, to your point, it's like, even though we do want to know, all of us, and we do have scientists and mathematicians and physicists in our species that want to know, like, what's the calculation and what's the specific technical math and physics and science that gets you the craft that does this. But more importantly, your point is, how did you as a species think about the nature of the universe to get there? And that's I think what most people that listen to Carl Sagan or Neil deGrasse Tyson or even Nikola Tesla, that's the really impactful thing. It's like, yeah, other physicists want to know what the math behind it is, and that is important, of course. But when you look at Nikola Tesla did not change our world as we know it from numbers and science alone. It was numbers and science, of course, but Nikola Tesla first completely changed the way he looked at the nature of reality in the universe.
Exactly. That's how he was able to do what he did
and
come up with the thoughts that he did.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's why it matters. That's why I would say to people even who don't deny the validity or the reality that aliens are here visiting us, but that don't show much interest, and they say, what does it matter to me? It's like, well, just think about what that means for how we perceive ourselves and each other within the universe, and what that means for life and divine spirit.